to the Elusive Truth with Rich and sometimes Larry. In today's show, we talk about eggs. Can you believe we're going to have a show on eggs? 1 month into 2023, and we have an egg problem. Houston, roll the tape. So I had a coworker give me some info about the feed and how these chickens weren't laying eggs, and by changing the feed, they started laying eggs again. He asked me, check it out. It might be a good show. So I went down the rabbit hole on this eggflation. Wow. Just crazy stuff. This world is getting crazier by the minute. So with that, we're going to start off with CNN. They're going to give us the lowdown on why egg prices, what's going on with them. Have a listen.
Egg prices are up. Anyone who has been grocery shopping lately can't help but notice how the price for a dozen eggs has skyrocketed. So what is causing the price surge? Vanessa Yurkevich. Hello, Vanessa, what is causing the price surge?
Well, you know, many Americans would go to the grocery store, not think anything much about buying a dozen eggs, not really looking at the prices. It was considered and is considered a staple in American households. But just in the last year, there's been a big price increase. Started last year at about $179 for a dozen eggs. Now it's $425. And this is in part because of the deadly bird virus that started last spring and is catching up to us right now.
In chilly Palmer, Alaska, the demand for chickens and their eggs is heating up.
I was already sold out even before the egg shortage. I was selling everything I had.
If you've been to the grocery store recently, you may have noticed fewer eggs and higher prices. Up about 11% last month on average from November, up nearly 60% in the last year. $11.49 for a dozen eggs in New York, $10.99 in Hawaii.
I think it's ridiculous for it to be that much.
The highly pathogenic avian influenza, or avian flu, is largely to blame. Nearly 58 million birds and climbing have died across 47 states in the last year, a result of the deadly virus. Wild birds can carry the disease and spread it to domestic flocks when they migrate.
One wild bird coming into their chicken run, and next thing you know, 10 birds, 20 birds, 30 birds, they're just dropping dead.
Some states now recommending that all poultry be maintained indoors. Poultry and bird shows canceled, and biosecurity around chickens strictly enforced.
The avian flu is serious.
Egg Shop, with 2 cafes in New York City, is struggling with prices on their main ingredient. The fall migration of wild birds sent avian flu cases spiking again.
We go through 7,000 to 9,000 eggs a week. So it's a significant amount of eggs. And in the last couple of weeks, they've jumped as high as 60%. How have you been able to absorb the high price increases of eggs? Unfortunately, we have raised all of our prices about 10% on our menu items.
For some, the increased costs is too much. Baked After Dark Bakery in Nebraska will close its doors this weekend.
I think about what our family could afford to pay for a cookie. I take that into consideration. We can't charge $5 a cookie.
The ripple effect goes beyond restaurants and bakeries. Take a look around the grocery store. Items that use eggs, like mayonnaise, are up 11.8% in the last year.
From the flu to the increases in inflation, all combined together with the shortage, it is a perfect storm.
And I definitely have seen the prices shoot up recently.
Does that stop you from making the purchase?
No, not at all. I'm just buying things to make a chicken cutlet, and you need eggs as the basis for that, too. It's one of the reasons why there's no way not to purchase them.
And some good news from the U.S. Department of Agriculture this week. They said that prices are starting to fall a little bit, but that supply remains light to moderate. And, you know, the holidays was really a time when there was a lot of demand for eggs. People were baking, people were cooking, but we're through the holidays now. So demand may be just a little bit lower. But, you know, it's not fun to go to the grocery store and see eggs that are costing about $10.99 here in New York. Hawaii, same price. So just keep your eye out. Look for those cheaper prices in your egg aisle. Yeah. Guys.
There you have it. Just a little flu problem with the birds, chickens primarily, and nothing to worry about. Prices are starting to come down. We'll go about our business and keep doing what we do. And just to prove it, I have another clip from CBS Mornings. Widespread bird flu, production issues cause eggs to soar nationwide.
The latest economic numbers show inflation is slowing down, but not for people who buy eggs. The average price for a dozen of eggs has more than doubled over the past year. Shortages around the country are hurting producers and putting more stress on consumers and businesses. Carter Evans reports from hard-hit California.
At Egg Tuck, a breakfast spot in Los Angeles that goes through up to 6,000 eggs a week, costs have quadrupled, and they're feeling it.
All of our courses are made with eggs.
Nationwide, prices for grade A eggs are up 137% from last year to an average of $4.25 a dozen. Meanwhile, the line of cars is about 30 minutes long at Billy's Egg Farm in Southern California.
You couldn't find eggs in the grocery store, so I've been coming ever since.
And workers are scrambling to meet demand.
We pack eggs in here 8 to 4 o'clock nonstop.
Co-owner Billy Mao sells 25,000 fresh eggs a day for $5 a dozen.
That's a pretty good bargain right now. Grocery stores are $7 to $9 a dozen.
That's if you can find them. This is what a lot of store shelves here look like.
Why is there a shortage right now? What's going on?
Well, I'm sure you heard there is a bird flu in the Midwest, and most of the eggs that come to our grocery stores here in California come from the Midwest.
So far, almost 58 million birds in the U.S. have been infected or euthanized. It's the country's worst outbreak ever.
The unfortunate reality with this particular strain of the bird flu is that it seems to be potentially endemic in wild birds.
Meaning it could be here to stay. But the American Egg Board says inflation is an even bigger part of the problem.
Thank you. No problem.
And there's another factor in California. All eggs sold in the state now have to come from cage-free chickens, like Billy Mao's.
It's expensive. It's about $20 to $25 per bird to switch over to cage-free.
And with Easter on the way, it could be some time before these high egg prices begin to crack. For CBS Mornings, Carter Evans, Los Angeles.
Now you've heard it from two different news sources. Not a problem, just a bird flu. This is all going to be taken care of. You can trust the media. The media's our friend. They're letting us know everything that we need to know with lots of truth. For the next piece, this is Inside Edition. Eggflation is here. Have a listen.
It's extremely bad news hitting your wallet. The price of eggs has jumped more than anything else at the grocery store.
Are customers angry about this?
I think they're concerned.
Besides the sticker shock, there's also a shortage of the supermarket staple. Frustrated customers are flocking to social media. Looks like eggs are the new toilet paper. Eileen's Special Cheesecake in New York City is feeling the pinch. Eggs are an essential ingredient in just about everything they make.
You guys are a cheesecake business. Cheesecake needs eggs. How many eggs do you think you go through in an average day?
Oh, God, thousands.
Is there anything that you can do to cut corners or save in any way?
I mean, sure, there are things we could do, but we're not going to do it because that would impact our product. I mean, we did raise our prices a little bit.
Since last year, the average cost of a dozen eggs surged from $1.47 to $3.60. So what's behind eggflation?
So the big reason prices are really soaring right now is because of the avian influenza outbreak or bird flu. And it's the deadliest outbreak of all time.
If you are frustrated by the prices and the shortage, you might want to consider alternatives.
So egg beaters, $9.99, still pricey, but it'll last longer than this carton of eggs, right?
Correct.
So if you have a big family, this is a good alternative. How long does this egg beater carton last?
The ones I have on the shelf right now last until April.
Wow.
This is an egg replacement item that's good for baking, and it's equivalent to 34 eggs, so it's a great alternative.
I am absolutely impressed. This media coverage is phenomenal, and they're showing us, or at least telling us, that there is egg substitutes that last a long time, so we don't have to worry about these poor eggs. We have nothing to worry about. Everything's in good hands with our government. We're going to change it a little bit. It starts to take on a dark side. Apparently, the Mexican drug lords are not happy with the drugs anymore. They want to get in on the action on the eggs because eggs are just, they're so expensive. So here, apparently they're having trouble at the border. They will let illegal aliens in, but the chicken eggs gotta stay. Have a listen.
People and drugs are not the only things being smuggled right now in the U.S. Border agents now seizing eggs like the ones you make for breakfast. Once again, this is all being linked to the cartels.
I know. It's bizarre, but it's happening and it's important. And News Nation border correspondent Robert Sherman is live now from San Diego with some details on that. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning to you guys. Yeah, pretty wild story to be following down here, but whether it's border crossings like San Diego and Tijuana behind us, or you go over to the Laredo area, this is something that they're starting to see more of. It's not just drugs and guns that are considered contraband, but now eggs as well. And you're not going to believe this, but from October to December of last year, they saw a 108% increase in eggs and other poultry items being smuggled. And whether it's, and as for these eggs that make it through the border, this is what it comes down to, guys. It's all about making money. And so take this example here. In Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, a case of 30 eggs costs just $3.40 right now. But you go across the border to El Paso, Texas, that same case of eggs sells for nearly $15. And a lot of this just simply comes back to the cartels looking to make money, which is what these business models are predicated upon, whether it's smuggling eggs, drugs, or humans, like this car chase that we witnessed over in the Rio Grande Valley earlier this month. If there's money to be made with getting something across the U.S.-Mexico border, the cartels certainly want a piece of it. Take a listen.
Even eggs, people forget that all kinds of commodities are smuggled across that southwest border. And the cartel is using the chaos of this mass migration as cover for those more illicit, more dangerous activities.
And we've seen in the past where the cartels have used exports and smuggling of limes and avocados in order to finance their businesses. But law enforcement tells us this is the first time they've seen eggs brought into the equation.
That was from News Nation. I cannot believe that the drug cartels are into egg smuggling now. I'm telling you, I told you, we're in clown world. It's gotten worse, and it's getting crazier. Because for the next part of this, I have a gentleman, Mike Dixon, the Fit Farmer, and he's going to introduce you to some eye-opening information about this bird flu, bird price, eggflation. I told you, it's a rabbit hole that we all fell into.
A number of years ago, I moved my family out of the city to live out here in the country to start a homestead. And we grow a lot of our own food, but we're not able to grow everything it is that we eat. And for the items that we don't grow ourselves, my wife is usually the one that goes to the grocery store to buy those items. However, right now, she's super pregnant. Super pregnant. So I've been trying to help her out with a number of things, including some of the grocery shopping. And since we raise our own chickens here for eggs, I honestly had no idea what the current prices are for eggs until this recent visit to the grocery store. Usually our preferred choice to buy things that we don't grow is from local farmers. But sometimes, and for some items, the grocery store is definitely necessary. And I must admit, shopping isn't my favorite thing to do, but I am willing to help my wife and family when needed. So I gathered the various items, sometimes trying to determine which item, like the butter here, my wife would choose. Then after that, I came upon the eggs. Man, look at the prices of these eggs. This is ridiculous. The last time I saw the prices of eggs, they were like 89 cents, 99 cents, somewhere around $1. But man, it's like 5 and 6 times more than what I saw last. This is crazy. Man, these eggs here, $5.49 and then $6.99. I don't know the difference between there. They're still the same commercial eggs. But the pasture-raised chicken eggs, which are the better eggs, $7.99. Not a big difference. So it's you can see that it's the commercial eggs that are really the ones that are higher in price, have gone up tremendously. Wow, this is crazy. So thankful that we raise our own chicken for eggs. Those prices are absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. There's some reports that are saying the prices of eggs are up 138% since last year. And that some areas like Hawaii, the price of a dozen eggs, commercial eggs, are somewhere around $9.75 a dozen. Wow. What are prices of eggs, commercial eggs, like in your area? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you because those prices are just insane. Is it a scam? Maybe. maybe even probably. But Lisa Steele at Fresh Eggs Daily, she gives some valid reasons on why eggs are the prices that they are, and some of which I definitely agree with. Some of which include overinflation and price gouging, and also even higher gas prices making everything go up, including the price of eggs. Did you even know gas prices may be contributing to some degree in the increase in egg prices? And I mean to some degree, because gas hasn't gone up that much to equate that kind of increase in the prices of eggs. Whew. Well, one narrative that is also being promoted right now as the reason why egg prices are what they are is many are blaming it on the avian bird flu, to the degree that some people are even afraid of wild birds coming near their chicken flocks. And I'm asking, is this reasonable? Is this sustainable? Or is this just another one of those things that to keep people in an ongoing state of fear? And when you look at the prices of eggs that are going up, they are commercial eggs, as I saw earlier. And those are commercial chickens, which are raised in environments that are contrary to the way that they were designed to live. And in those environments, they're unhealthy. And on top of that, they're also usually hybrid chickens that don't have the best and hardiest breed stocks that there are. And many of those chickens would not make it out in the wild at all. They would just be gone super fast. And if the reason why egg prices are what they are is because of birds getting sick, then that would also affect the prices of chicken meat, which hasn't happened yet, interestingly. Just something to think about, because those birds would be affected as well, and those birds, the genetics and immune systems on those are not good either. Not at all. So, if it really is, then you would expect at some point for the prices of chicken meat to soar too. And seeing those prices of eggs just make me really thankful that my family and I have done what we have done in starting a homestead and raising chickens. In fact, it actually makes me want to take it even more seriously. Thinking back years ago, one of the driving forces for us starting a homestead out here was chickens. I wanted to provide my family with healthier eggs, because there is a difference between commercial eggs and pastured raised eggs. And with our chickens, we strive to make sure that they live a healthy life, so that way they can provide us with a healthy product. For our chickens, instead of having hybrid chickens, we try to make sure that we have heritage breeds that are less hands-on and are more robust and able to function and graze and live kind of a little bit more on their own. We also strive to provide them with a healthier environment, rotationally graze them and let them eat grass and bugs and all those things out in the open air, things that they're not able to do in commercial operations. And here during the winter months when we can't get them out on fresh grass, what we do is make sure they at least have fresh bedding. But one thing that came to mind as we were working is something that would make this whole egg price thing a non-issue is if everyone was raising a backyard flock of chickens. Now, I must admit, I'm raising more chickens because we sell produce to various customers. I'm raising more than most people would, but everyone could raise a backyard chickens, especially if things like HOA would let them. Nobody should be banned from growing their own food. That's just absolutely ridiculous. Everybody should be able to do it. And chickens is like the easiest animal to raise, from my experience at least. And it's not hard to do so at all. You can have a really easy setup for you and your family for like 10, 15 chickens and just make it a really simple thing. And that way you could just feed them food scraps and things like that, and you could begin to have eggs. And with egg prices the way that they are and people having trouble affording eggs for their family, where are the programs promoting backyard chickens and actually teaching people how to raise their own backyard flock? Where are those? That would make so much sense. That, all right, we're having the shortage on eggs, we got to raise the price. Everybody, we encourage you to start raising your own, so that way you can take care of your family. I don't see that. So far I've mentioned as some of the reasons why, or contributing factors to why egg prices are the way that they are, is I mentioned possible scam all around. That's a possibility. but also higher gas prices, price gouging, and overinflation. Oh yeah, and I also mentioned the avian bird sickness. But some other things that people have mentioned is some of the new regulations regarding raising chickens in cages. Some states are wanting to do away with it, which that's good. That's good. And they're saying that's hindering the processes of raising chickens and eggs. So I don't think that that's a major factor, but it could be a very, very, very small factor. And also some farmers are saying, like that Welsh farmer, that supermarkets are not wanting to pay farmers for their eggs.
Better get this one out there before the supermarkets put their story across and cancel everyone else. So when you go into a supermarket now, you might see that there is a bit of an egg shortage. So not many eggs on the shelf to buy, not free range, not organic, nothing. So you're struggling to find eggs. Supermarkets are going to tell you this is because of avian flu, which, to be fair, there has been a lot of cases of avian flu. But you want to know the real reason why there's an egg shortage? It's because the supermarkets won't pay the farmers for the eggs. So the supermarkets have upped their price for you, the consumer. But they haven't filtered that price increase down to us, the farmers. So our cost of producing these eggs has skyrocketed. Feed, electric, the price of new birds, that's gone up. But our price of eggs has stayed the same. So we physically can't afford to produce these eggs. So currently there's been 8 million less free-range hens ordered for next year's flocks. So that's just under 8 million eggs every day that we're not going to be producing. So that's 8 million eggs less every single day that we don't produce. And we're already 3 million eggs short of being self-sufficient. So the UK have to import 3 million eggs every day to feed the nation. And now we're losing another 8 million birds because the supermarkets won't pay us. And they're going to blame the farmers. They'll be like, oh, well, the farmers should just stock them and produce you great British food. But we can't afford to. If the supermarkets paid us a fair price for our eggs, then we would stock our sheds and there would be more sheds going up and the UK could be self-sufficient in great British eggs. But the supermarkets won't pay us. So if you can make any sense of that, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. But yeah, the current egg shortage isn't really due to avian flu. It's because the supermarkets are refusing to pay us a fair price for our produce.
And then as a result of that, farmers aren't able to produce as many eggs. So that's taking away from eggs being on the shelf. That could be a solid reason as a contributing factor, a major contributing factor, something to consider. And some are talking about right now protein being lessened or reduced in feed, and even for backyard flocks. So for those of you who are raising backyard chickens or homesteads or farms, I would definitely recommend making sure that you buy your feed from only a trusted source. I'm not a huge fan of going to these box stores to get your feed. I'd recommend doing your best, like I said, to buy from a reputable company. But if you, and even more, you can actually maybe start going to local farms, support your local farmers, which I like to do. A farmer not too far from me has a local meal where they actually put together their own feeds, and I'm able to know them and know and trust them and know what they're putting in the feed. And you can also make your own feed. So that's another option. Do your own blend, but just something to think about.
What do you think? I was more amazed at the fact that apparently this is a global issue. That gentleman, his name was Lone Humphrey from the Welsh Farmer, explaining the egg problems over in Europe. So this is a lot bigger than we think it is. This is definitely how it starts. Cut out the farmers, one central area or one central producer. That's it. Just like what Walmart did to all these other mom and pop stores. So this has been going on for a long time, much longer than we think it has. At the very least, Mike makes it very interesting on the subject. I really had no idea about the chickens, you know. We have other things we worry about in society. But it makes sense what he's saying, and it was very enlightening. It would be nice to have some chickens around and not have to worry about this. But as you see, as we're taking this downward angle, there's more to the story. It's a lot of things happening at once. And for my next piece, it's going to be very interesting. Off the Grid with Doug and Stacy. This mom is warning us about chicken feed, which brings us right back to what my coworker suggested, what was going on with these chickens. I'm telling you, this could be Larry's brother. It could be his uncle. This is where the trouble starts with the mainstream media. Have a listen.
How long has this been going on? All right, we're going to continue on with this chicken feed story, because like I was explaining to you guys, 5 degrees out here. That's freezing cold. But everybody's still got to come out this morning. So we're talking about the chickens and we're talking about the eggs. And I was explaining to you guys in one of the videos that we had a little bit ago that it's going to take the citizen journalist, all right, to peel through these onions. Because the actual news that we've all counted on, which is pretty much, you know, we all kind of knew it was compromised a little bit, but it's actually full-blown part of the system now. Okay, so we have to disconnect from anything that the TV's telling us because they're in on the program, right? So it's going to be up to us to weed through all this stuff and to help keep each other, you know, vigilant, focused, and on the ready, all right? That's right, Mr. Turkey. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what some citizen journalists found out. But first, I warned about this. I caught this when he said it, and I put it on my Twitter, okay? But I'll let Tucker Carlson will actually tell you what Joe Biden said last year about America starving.
Last spring in March at a press conference in Brussels, Joe Biden explained that the sanctions he was imposing against Russia, while morally necessary, were also going to cause food shortages around the world, including here in the United States. It's going to be real, he said. Now, Biden said this in a very odd way. There was no hint or panic, emotions you'd expect from a leader predicting the deaths of human beings from starvation. None of that. Instead, there was pure nonchalant casualness. Biden could have been describing the weather or a trip to the dry cleaners. It's going to be real. Then, Biden continued, recounting a conversation he'd had with European allies. He told us all about it. When he met with the group, Biden said, they spoke about, quote, how we could increase and disseminate more rapidly food shortages. That's what Joe Biden said, verbatim. It's on tape. So here you have the president of the United States pledging to increase food shortages at a press conference. Now, that seemed like a newsworthy event, but not a single news organization in this country seemed to notice it happened, nor did the White House correct it. But others were watching, so within days, that clip wound up on social media, and Facebook flagged it immediately as, quote, false news. Now, strictly speaking, that's untrue. There's nothing false about the video. It was entirely real. No one can test that. But apparently, Facebook users were supposed to understand that Joe Biden is senile, and therefore he's not accountable for his own words. Taking Joe Biden literally qualifies as, quote, misinformation.
I know this is hard to believe, right? Can you even believe that the president of the United States would basically say that, you know, get ready? It's going to be food shortages coming on. And then did you guys know that, you know, if you are following this stuff, right? I'm just trying to help you guys follow this stuff. I'm not making up stuff. It's not conspiracy theory, but if you just follow this stuff. He said that, and then all of a sudden we started having these accidents at these processing plants. 2 planes flew into 2 different processing plants. Fires are breaking out at all these different processing plants. After I did that last chicken video, there was a fire in Connecticut, killed hundreds of thousands of birds. A fire just randomly broke out. I think they said 20 fire departments or something had to respond, or 20 fire trucks had to respond to that fire. Okay? And now what they're doing too is they're wiping out these farms and saying that the birds have the avian flu. All right? I don't believe it. I think they're lying about the avian flu. Just one man's opinion. I think they're culling all of the out. So here, let me just explain to you guys. This is going to be a video, so hold on, okay? But I'm going to explain to you guys something real quick. This is going to be crazy, all right? I'm just going to tell you guys what I know, right? This is what I know, okay? You know, I'm friends with the Amish, and when we first got up here, a lot of the Amish were doing pigs. And they were doing pigs through, was it Catskill? No, Cargill, that's what it was. A big company, right? Big company doing pigs. But what had happened was several years before the Amish started doing the pigs, you know, they would just go buy pigs at the sale barn, take their pigs to the sale barn, and a lot of transactions were happening at the sale barn. Well, then the big companies noticed that, and they started going to the sale barns, and then they started pitching the Amish. You know, I can speak of that because that's what I know, but I'll bet it's other small farmers, and they started pitching them about having pig houses at their place, right? So we'll just stop the sale barn stuff. We'll bring direct to you. You can raise them up, and then we'll take them right off your hands. And so that's how they circumvented the sale barn, and then the prices of the pork started going up, right? But then what also happened was the price of the meat and everything was so ridiculous that the Amish couldn't make a living doing it anymore, so they had to give it up. So then what the big companies do is they take it all to a central place. And then the central places are growing, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? The scattered food system that we had in America is now being torn apart so they could set in centralized food systems, okay? This is what's happening, y'all, okay? They're getting rid of the local farmer people, the mom and poppers who they do big chicken farms, these mom and poppers. And now they're going into their places and they're saying, your birds have the flu, and they're burning all their birds and killing them on the spot, right? This is what's going on. So this is why we have to stay vigilant right now, because behind the scenes, what they're doing is they're centralizing our food systems. So one company is going to provide all the chickens and all the eggs. One company is going to provide all of the pigs. One company is going to provide all of the beef. And then another company is going to provide all your crickets and bugs and all the stuff you have to eat, because now there won't be enough food to feed the population because of the centralizing of the food. I mean, this is a process, y'all. We're in this process. Okay, so we've been talking about the chickens, and they're not laying the eggs, and we're starting to connect all these dots, right? The fires, the food shortages, the supply chain issues that are faked just so they can get into your head that there's supply chain issues. And so all this stuff is going on. And now, you know, because we're bringing up this story, a lot of people are talking about how their chickens stopped laying eggs in September last year and like in the summer last year, and no one can figure it out, and we're all trying to figure it out, and we've kind of boiled it down to the feed, right? And now we have these stay-at-home moms. I don't know if she's a stay-at-home mom, but this is probably what's going to save us, because the dads are supposed to be at work, and so the stay-at-home moms are getting on it, and a lot of you citizen journalists are getting on it. And let's just connect some dots in this rabbit hole on how you guys aren't going to believe it. But here, I'm going to give you some clips. You guys listen real close.
One, I ended with talking about how Cal-Maine Foods and Moark LLC might be connected. Well, here's how they're connected. In 2014, Moark LLC, which you'll remember is a subsidiary of Land O'Lakes, purchased Delta Egg Farm from Moark LLC, the largest producer of fresh eggs in the United States. Cal-Maine, largest producer of fresh eggs in the United States. It's everywhere. Anywhere you go look, you'll find that out. Since they bought out Delta Egg Farm in 2014 from Moark LLC, Cal-Maine has distributed more than 1 billion dozen eggs a year. So now that we've established that Cal-Maine is the largest producer of eggs, and they bought Delta Egg Farm from Moark LLC, how does that have anything to do with the feed? Well, I'll tell you. Well, in 2012, Cal-Maine Foods Incorporated went into a new joint venture with Eggland's Best Incorporated, and who else? Oh yeah, Land O'Lakes. So the producer of Purina Foods Land O'Lakes, the feed that most of us are feeding our chickens, is now in a joint venture with the largest egg producer in the United States. And you might be telling yourself, well, Keely, that doesn't have anything to do with me because I feed my chickens Producer's Pride from Tractor Supply. Yeah, well, I got into that too. I had just thrown a bag of Producer's Pride Scratch in the dumpster. So I went outside, thought maybe I'd see who's producing that. Well, on the back of it, the only information it gives is Tractor Supply with a phone number. So I called that phone number and I asked, who is the manufacturer or the vendor for Producer's Pride? And the lady on the phone, she said, well, we do warranty stuff here. I'd have to give you the phone number and if you want any information on that feed, you're going to have to call the vendor. And I was like, well, I'm asking who's the vendor. And she says, oh, the vendor is Purina. So I called Purina. I called Purina customer service 4 times. Got put on hold, and the phone would disconnect when I'd ask the question. I finally called and got on hold for so long that they asked me to leave a message and someone would call me back. So I did. I left a message and someone did call me back. Producer's Pride and Do More Feed from Tractor Supply are both manufactured by Purina, which is owned by Land O'Lakes, which is in a joint venture with the largest egg producer in the United States, Cal-Maine Foods Incorporated. And it's damn near impossible. You can't do just a simple Google search and find out what all feeds Purina produces. So I decided to call customer service. And I'll show you guys the call now.
Usually feed my chickens Do More Feed. And I was just wondering which other brands of chicken feeds that you guys manufacture. We manufacture the Purina line, the Purina poultry line we do. So for laying hens, it would be the Purina Layina, or we have a Purina high protein Layina, that kind of stuff.
Okay, and then you guys also manufacture Producer's Pride, right?
Yes, and we have not found any issues with it yet.
And I just want to stop it right there for a moment because I never asked about an issue with the feeds. I never asked. She volunteered that information.
Okay, I was just wondering, is there any other brands that you guys produce?
Why wouldn't you know
that? Much that's it. The Purina brand is one, and Do More and the Producer's Pride. And we those two, according to Tractor Supply, formulations. We don't use our formula in our feeds.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure. Can I get your name?
Now, I called Purina 3 other times this morning trying to get a hold of somebody, and when I would ask the question, the call would get disconnected. And then I called back, and I ended up having to leave a voicemail, and that's the lady that called me back. In case it's not just staring you straight in the face, the largest producer of eggs in the United States is in a joint venture with Purina, essentially. The feed we're all feeding our chickens. Let's go to another part, because I have more. Cal-Maine's website, and I looked for their financial records. 2022 financial report on Form 10K. Now, before we go into that report, I want you guys to ask yourselves, when did your chickens stop laying? For me, it was around September. They started diminishing in their egg production. And then by November, I wasn't getting anything at all. So let's just see what does that have to do with anything, Keely? Well, on page 4 of their financial report, it reads, in fiscal year 2021, we announced that our board of directors approved several new capital projects with an estimated cost of $105 million to further expand the company's cage-free production capabilities. These projects include expanding our cage-free egg production at our Okeechobee, Florida production facility. The project is designed to include the construction of 2 cage-free layer houses and 1 cage-free pellet house with capacity of approximately 400,000 cage-free hens and 210,000 pullets, respectively. Construction is well underway, with the first pullets placed in mid-May 2022. The first layer house to be finished by when? Oh, September 2022, when all of our chickens stopped laying.
So you got to be a rocket scientist to follow the conspiracy theories these days, right? I mean, there you have it. Purina supplies the food. Purina's in on the globalist takeover of the world because they're a big conglomerate food company, right? Now it all makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It's all coming together real nice. Plus Land O'Lakes. If you guys remember Land O'Lakes, man, they were one of the first ones jumping out there, canceling the Indian girl off the package. You know, they canceled the Indian but kept the land, right? And they were right up there. What was that other company too, doing all the cancellating? And Aunt Jemima, remember, they got rid of her, one of the most successful black women in history of America, and they canceled her right off of the container. I was warning you guys in the video earlier that these big companies are part of the problem, and they're old institutions, so they put us in the trick bag because we trust them, you know, because we grew up with them. So you guys are going to have to stay vigilant out there. I'm doing my best. I'm sounding the alarms. I'm trying to give you guys as much information as I can. It's going to take you digging as well. It's going to take you guys sharing these videos. You have to get this information out. Alternatively, we have to get this information out ourselves so we can tell our friends who raise the chickens to keep an eye out for the feed, and this is what's going on. And I don't even know what else to say about it. But you guys, I hope you're paying attention to all the videos people are posting, and I hope you're starting to make your plans, and I hope you guys are moving, you know, to be some sort of self-sufficient, because there's going to come a time, I'm afraid there's going to come a time when all the conveniences that you're really used to right now are going to become a big problem for you. But I'm freezing out here. I just wanted to bring you this story. My hands are shaking.
Did that help make you understand why the egg prices are so high? Or did it make it even crazier to understand what the heck is going on in this world? Mainstream media or Doug? Who do you think has the better case? I'm amazed. I cannot believe how crazy this is and how believable it is. It's exactly what the World Economic Forum is preaching. New World Order. Centralized everything, just like that guy Klaus said, you will be happy and own nothing. So here we are. I took you down a rabbit hole, and again, there's more research on this. You can go anywhere on the web, YouTube, look this stuff up. It's crazy. Conspiracy, this one's a tough one. The way that's going right now in Clown World 2023. Yeah, I bet you this is really happening. So with that, I want to thank you for joining in and going down the rabbit hole with me. I am hoping to have Larry with us on our next show. I think he's feeling a little bit better, hopefully. And with that, keep looking for that elusive truth. We love you all. Keep up your positive energies. Stay away from that negativity. And we will see you soon. God bless you. And remember, stay strong. Work together. We need each other. Bye-bye.